So Dana Brown said that Jose Joe Espada, says Christian Javier will return this weekend. Jose Urquidy threw a live bullpen yesterday. If he comes out of that okay, he'll start a rehab assignment himself this weekend. So if you're one of the few that thinks that, those guys will save the Astros season somehow, well, they're close to being back. So maybe that'll help you.
You don't seem to believe, Joe.
Nope.
That's going to make that happen.
Because they're not going to fix the 7th, 8th, and 9th spots in the bullpen. Your middle relief's not the problem anymore. Like, that's what everyone thought it was going to be, and that's what people blamed for a while. But Taylor Scott, Seth Martinez, Sean Dubin, these guys, Rafael Montero, they've done fine. They're not great. But they're not, the bullpen that won the World Series, a couple years ago, that were the best bullpen of all time. But they're good. They're good enough. It's 7, 8, 9 that are your problem. I don't even think at this point, Stanek and those guys leaving is this end of the world decision for the Astros, because your middle relief's done enough. It's your starting pitching to what you're saying, giving up 3 in the first or getting shelled in the first, even worse than that. And then your guys late, not doing well, and your lineup doing nothing. Your middle relief has probably been one of your more solid parts.
That is the weirdest development.
They've been fine. And maybe they're not good, but they seem
they're
better
not
than
the worst.
But they're not the worst part of the team anymore.
It's also the expectation game of Ryan Presley, Josh Hader were thought to be like this devastating 1-2 combination. It was supposed to be Dotel, Lidge, and Wagner, and it's like, nope. Actually, these guys are not just underperforming; they're bad. Right now they are bad pitchers. Right?
You are in the nightmare that Aroldis Chapman wakes up from every single morning. And no, I'm not talking about the time he did that bad thing, probably should have been kicked out of baseball. I'm talking about the time that Jose Altuve took him yard and ended the 2019 ALCS. But you are trapped in a Groundhog Day version of that. You have the name like Aroldis Chapman. Mm-hmm. You have the talent like Aroldis Chapman supposedly did. And yet, every single time you go out there, you are just getting decimated. And you hope it gets better. You got to have heart. Miles and miles of heart. You got to believe, right? I guess.
I don't think the players believe anymore.
Aroldis Chapman has a much lower ERA than, not much lower, a full run lower ERA than Josh Hader right now.
Yep.
Pitching for the Pirates, I think it is.
Yeah.
Is that where he's at these days?
Holding down in Pittsburgh.
He'll get traded at the deadline. Probably still Ryan Presley. Dana Brown was
speaking of trades.
Yeah, speaking of trades. Now, look, I don't think that this quote from Dana Brown yesterday when he was on MLB Network I don't think he's being honest, because Dana Brown does say a lot of things, and he has started to me be more honest and more forthright a little bit.
I don't know, man. He's so one way or another.
Yeah.
A week apart saying completely different things.
That's true.
That's the big
Jose
problem
Abreu
with Dana Brown right now, as I'm sure you're about to outline.
Yeah, but he was asked yesterday about if they were going to sell at the deadline.
Yes.
And he said this team's too good. I can't envision a world in which they sell. Now,
oh my God.
Now, I can't imagine like a GM. Now, the Marlins GM just did this, and they're not far from you at the bottom. The Marlins GM admitted that they're not going to make the playoffs, and that's why they traded Luis Arise. Dana Brown, with the quality of players, with Jim Crane being focused on still putting butts in seats, which has been pointed out multiple times on text and Twitch. Minute Maid's going to turn into a ghost town here shortly.
Highway Cantina, though, right down the street.
Yeah, need some of those 975 marks. Way better than going to a game.
The Astros are 2.5 games above the Marlins.
Yeah, so the Marlins are not going to make the playoffs, but the Astros are not going to sell, according to Dana Brown. I don't believe that. He is not going to publicly say they're going to sell, because they still have to lie to Jim Crane and say that the players are going to figure it out.
I'm glad you brought up Jim Crane. Don't you think it's interesting how quiet Jim Crane has been? Jim Crane has been rather outspoken as far as baseball owners go. When's the last time we heard from Jim Crane?
The last time we heard about Jim Crane was that he denied comment multiple times to the Athletic.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
When's the last time we've heard Jim Crane give comments? I guess is it before the season?
Yeah.
Is it maybe opening day, like where they talk before the game with Chandler Rome and McTaggart and the scrum for like a couple questions?
Probably, but I think if you go back to some of the contracts that the Astros have given out, has Jim Crane been a major part of it? I feel like for the Josh Hader signing, there was no Jim Crane there, if I'm not mistaken. I think That's was correct. At the podium, Hader, Dana Brown, GM, and Joe Espada, the manager.
Probably Joe Espada's press conference. That's probably when.
Because he's the introductory press conference with the new manager. How much did Jim Crane speak?
He's not there.
He's not.
I'm looking at the YouTube video right now. It's Dana Brown and Joe.
Was he at Dusty Baker's retirement that Chandler Rome forced him to retire?
Maybe he was at that.
That was the blog boys too, and the Twitter boys, and girls.
Chandler Rome and Twitter.
Yeah,
forced Dusty Baker to retire.
But yeah, I don't believe Dana Brown. Obviously, when he says that, if you're this bad, you're going to sell at the deadline.
If Steve Cohen's going to sell with the amount he spent, I feel like Jim Crane with a lot less money to play with is also going to think this is a loss right now. We need to make the asset build back up again.
To the extent that you sell is the bigger question that we'll have to entertain. I mean, and if you continue this path, there's no reason why Alex Bregman, Ryan Pressler, or Justin Verlander should be on this team. Justin Verlander will still be on this team because Jim Crane needs someone to golf with.
Alex Bregman will also still be on this team unless he starts hitting better.
Because
what contending team is saying, we're a third baseman away, so let's go get Alex Bregman in a contract year who's hitting 198.
You need him to have, like, if he continues this way, you just need him to be awesome in July. Have a month where he hits like 350.
Just bounce back.
Right into the deadline. Prospects, here they come. Like, that's what I need from Alex Bregman right now. Have a good July. That's where we're at. Ryan Presley, you have a good July too. And where you trade past that would be up for debate. I would offer Kyle Tucker a real contract for once and see what the agent's response is. And if you're not even close, I think you have to have some uncomfortable conversations about trading Kyle Tucker, but I would still try to keep him first.
Nothing should be off the table with where they are right now.
Yeah, besides probably Altuve.
Saying publicly that you're not going to do anything at the trade deadline, that you're not going to be a seller is 100% fair to say because you don't want the players to feel like they're not being believed in, but there's very little to believe in at this moment in time. And I think that just given how quickly Dana Brown has changed his tune on certain things, like, I don't know, Jose Abreu's bat speed being fine to Jose Abreu needing to work on the quick twitch muscles so that he can have better bat speed, literally a week apart. Brown will change his tune very quickly is something that we have learned and sometimes offers promises that are empty.
Well, I think what the next step is that Dana Brown will no longer do invited interview appearances like he did on the MLB Network. And because I experienced this when I was there with the Rockets, my guess is that because we'll push Soft Boys back here a little bit. Some of the quotes that we're going to read next from his weekly interviews, those will go away. They're contractual.
The weekly stuff I get is contractual.
Yeah.
But I cannot believe he went on MLB Network.
I can't either.
Yesterday, like when was that scheduled? Was that scheduled after? Was that scheduled after the Colorado series?
Like, stop talking. Like stop talking to the media unless you contractually have to, and even then, you can get out of it.
Yeah, like I keep making this comparison to Rafael Stone. Never talked when the Rockets were bad. Never talked last year, really, when the Rockets were good. Like he could have very easily done the like a pseudo victory lap of, look, we're competitive again. Like the team is falling. The house is burning down around Dana Brown, and he's still talking.
You know why?
Twice a week.
Because Rafael Stone doesn't want to go on the radio and be asked if they're going to trade Jalen Green for Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
Or Mikal Bridges, whichever Bridges it is.
Either one would have been nice, but Miles is the one with the dubious path.
Okay, so Mikal is who we're looking for. But like that's why he doesn't do interviews. Dana Brown, like, just, you know what? Please don't stop. because we got to find something to talk about.
This is it's more interesting to talk about the big picture stuff than it is what happens on the field. Because it's like, oh yeah, all the players that have been good since 2017 and some of them more recently than that, they stink now. There you go. Justin Verlander, he's old. He got too old in a snap of the finger.
This is the tricky spot that you're finding yourself in, where I think all of us would like a little bit of transparency. Maybe we want that transparency from Jim Crane, but clearly not getting it. We liked that we were getting it from Dana Brown at first, the transparency, though some skeptics, cynics, me, thought right away when we heard Dana Brown for the first time, man, he is saying an awful lot. Do you want full transparency from your organization when it's going through times like this? Or would you prefer them shut up and keep their head down? And I think ultimately we all would rather have the latter, because guess what? When you make yourself available, if you're Jim Crane or if you're Dana Brown, if you're making yourself available, there is zero victory for you talking about how things are bad, because either you're going to admit that things are bad and people are going to stop caring, or you're going to deny that things are bad. And in denying that things are bad, people are going to stop believing in you.
Yeah. Well, according to Dana Brown, one player needs to get hot. And if that player turns it around, the lineup will roll. Who is it? That's next year on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. He was asked about Alex Bregman. And he said about Alex, he said he needs to get hot. He's our veteran. This team will roll when Bregman rolls. He will get hot, mark my word. I'll mark that.
Please stop asking us to mark your words. We're really marking a lot of words.
Yeah.
We've probably got several paragraphs, if not a page.
He said he's an important piece and he needs to get hot. He does team building for us in the clubhouse. That's the guy.
He is such a politician.
Alex Bregman has been awful, but the idea that one player is going to fix all these problems. Now, we know, we've all seen it with our eyeballs, that he keeps coming up with runners in scoring position and hitting these lazy pop-ups that are just doing nothing for you. They're not even competitive. There's not even a chance for players to make errors and you get lucky and get some runs. They are lazy pop-ups, barely leaving the infield, or they're just in foul territory. He has been a disaster in all accounts. Dana Brown was asked about if it's the contract, and he said he doesn't think so. I don't know if it's the contract. Before the season we talked about this. I said my guess would be I thought Bregman was going to be the exact opposite of this year.
I did too.
He was going to crush it and then get a $30 million contract. He'll be lucky to get a $20 million contract for a year.
He's looking at a 1-year contract right now.
Yes.
And you're hoping, if you're Alex Bregman, that a new start is going to be the jolt of whatever it is that you need in your arm to be the guy that you used to be. It's really at a point right now, though, where you're not expecting it to happen here. I know there's a lot of season left, but this is the worst. I mean, this is the worst slump of his career since he joined the majors and he was a rookie. It's excusable when you're a rookie in 2016, but when you're here and it's this bad, what's the, glimmer of hope that it's going to be better for him at any point this year, not just weeks, months from now?
Yeah, I mean, even Dana, Dana Brown's trying to push this idea that these players have been here before. He said that this morning as well, that they've slumped before.
They haven't been here before.
They've never
losing.
Yeah, they've had slumps. They've had team slumps. They've lost to the, when they're going to the World Series, they've been swept by the Orioles and swept by the Royals and the A's and the worst teams in baseball. That stuff was fluky. It felt like those seasons, because then they would dominate the best teams in baseball. And yeah, they would just they'd make life a little more difficult by losing to bad teams. Well, they are the bad team now. They haven't been the bad team since 2014.
Are they the bad team, though? I mean, did you see the grade that Dana Brown gave the Astros when he was on the flagship this morning? Dana Brown, get this, gave your Houston Astros, who have one of the worst records in all of baseball, Dana Brown, I guess, had some sort of curve and gave the Astros, who I just want to keep emphasizing, are 12-23, the second worst team in the American League, the fourth worst team in all of baseball. He gave them a C-. The team that has been to 7 straight ALCS is getting a C-. I mean, tell us you're a substitute teacher, Dana Brown, without telling us you're a substitute teacher. And he is. He's not Jeff Luhnow. He's not even James Click. C- is such a middle finger to everyone that has been watching the team to this point this year. It is the kind of stuff that a politician doesn't say in a democracy like the United States of America. I guess it's a republic. That's what you hear in banana republics. This is what you hear from dictators who are trying to barely cling on to any small sliver of power that they might have. This is, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the movie, this is Nick Offerman's president character in the movie Civil War, locked up, barricaded in the White House at the very end, waiting for people to break it down and overthrow him and then kill him. That's where we're at with Dana Brown. Yes, some of the comparisons at the very end, perhaps a little melodramatic, perhaps a little hyperbolistic, but a C- for a team that is 12-23, blowing saves left and right, getting lots of underachieving, high-paid players in their lineup, is a C-, which is a slightly less than satisfactory grade. That,
I mean, you're still eligible to play like high school football if you have a C-.
You're right, Joe. C- is insane. Insane.
Yeah.
Even a D, I would at least hear, but it's an F-. I mean, he might be getting expelled for this kind of a start to the school year.
Yeah, this is,
or starting the year over at the very least.
you have like 4 A's on your roster. You have Ronald Blanco, he gets an A. Jose Altuve, he gets an A. Kyle Tucker gets an A. Look at Jeremy Pena an A. It's 4 A's. Everyone else is at best, a B-. And if they're not a B-, they're probably an F player right now. It is a collective F. This is below standard. And that's why, and maybe that's like his nice way to say it. Like it kind of feels like him giving the Astros a C- is like NFL.com giving the Falcons a C- for drafting Michael Penix in the first round. They don't really mean it, but they don't want to crucify one of their own franchises. Like that's what this is. It is because he's wrong. And he knows he's wrong, and he's just saying it, and he has to do interviews, and he doesn't want to go scorched earth. But the players know too. Like the players don't need babying. They all know. They all know what's going on. Alex Bregman is totally aware that he's awful. Justin Verlander said it yesterday after the game that he knows it wasn't good enough, and he has to fix it. They all know. Josh Hader knows. The problem is that they know they also don't have an answer right now. That's the problem. This isn't.
There's no answer.
Like
there's no answer coming, and there is no answer to be had.
Because there's still no logic, in my opinion, of what's happening. Like you still look at their roster, you look at the lineup that's out there, you look at who's available out of the bullpen on any day, and you're like, okay, it's a good baseball team.
Yep.
But it's just not. So like that's why I don't know how you know the answer to something that seems illogical.
All I know is that they are not a C-. That's all I know.
Yeah. I wish I had Dana Brown as a teacher growing up. I got straight A's.
I'm pretty sure Dana Brown is thankful that he is his own teacher here, giving him the C- because D's do get degrees. Well, I found that out in communications law at Syracuse University. The only time that I've ever gotten below a B in my life, communications law. I got a D because I had the worst grade in the class on the first exam of the year because I didn't show up for any of the classes.
Yeah, I would assume that Jim Crane's giving this team an F.
Yep.
Big time F.
Yep.
To the question where I didn't want to entertain the idea of will heads roll after this season, I'm starting to wonder. Like what the Jim Crane reaction to this is going to be. If he's like not speaking because he's stewing with anger.
Well,
that's what I like to pretend is happening at least.
Any head that rolls would be performative. Jim Crane's not cutting off his own head and putting it on a pike.
Touche. Good point.
And it feels like that group that is making the decisions behind the scenes, they're going to be the exact same group next year.
Not going to fire Reggie Jackson from being his friend?
Right. I don't think that there's going to be any breakups between Jim Crane and the Hall of Fame Letterman jacket boys. Biggio, Bagwell, Mr. October, and Jim Crane in his Missouri State Letterman jacket. They're all sitting there together, smoking cigars, trying to figure out what's up, but they know it's not anything they're doing. It's Dana Brown. It's Joe Espada. It's Alex Bregman, not a Hall of Famer like us.
Yeah, they're looking at the standings or the MVP ballot from 2019, saying who can we add from 5 years ago.
Who can they add from 5 years ago?
They got the MVP from 5 years ago, so
Yeah, but they need another one.
the runner-up wasn't that
Anderson.
Alex Bregman?
Yeah. Where's Tim Anderson? Tim Anderson.
He's in Miami. He's their starting shortstop. All right.
They're sellers, not like us.
Yeah.